Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Shila Vosough Ommi about season 2 of Tehran, which is available on Apple TV+. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Peter.
Oh, absolutely. It is so exciting right now. I mean, a show gets put for season 1, then kind of the mindset for season 2 obviously is, okay, we're going to actually add to the story. We're going to develop more. What's your mindset when it gets renewed for season 2 specifically?
Oh my God, my mindset is joy. Joy. And of course, for this season 2 specifically, because Glenn Close joined us, it was joy and terror.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, that was really... So when did you find out about that addition of Glenn Close? Was that before everyone else? Was the cast privy to this before everyone else? Or did you find out when everyone else...
I think Shaun Toub, who plays my husband, I think he was privy to it, and he told me not to tell anyone. So when I was talking on the phone with the director, Danny Sirkin, he said, "Oh, so you know who's joined?" And I had to pretend I didn't know, and I said, "I don't know," and he knew I'm lying, and I was caught. But yeah.
There's a lot happening with Tehran. There's a lot happening drama-wise, the storylines. What do you like so much about this show from the perspective of being on it as a storyteller? What do you like about the show specifically from working on it perspective?
What I like about this show is that it has the two elements. It's got the elements of suspense and thrill, so that gets people interested in watching, and it gives them a rush of adrenaline.
Yep.
And it has an element of humanity and love, and that's where I come in. Humanity and also, I just saw a beautiful hummingbird come to my window. Deep human issues, like psychological issues. So it gets very deep and it gets very fun.
One of my favorite things about storytelling is lately, Sheila?
Mm-hmm.
Genre bending. I love that I love that we're not staying in one box, because I feel like what you're saying a little bit of is a little bit of kind of not being afraid to kind of throw, suspense and passion and romance. You're kind of bending genres a little bit there.
Right. Yeah. And deep, family issues. Yeah.
Well, I feel like the family, from season 1 of the show, family was always there. And I feel like that was kind of something that kind of drew you in, I feel like, when you're reading about it, what it's about, the family component. Do you feel like the family is still the focal point going into season 2, or are we shifting a little bit?
I mean, the family is still definitely a focal point in the Faraz's storyline. So that's definitely there, and in a very deep and difficult way.
Yeah.
So he has to deal with that as well as deal with his work now.
Do you see, kind of as a storyteller, as an actor, as a filmmaker, do you enjoy just because there's obviously a script and everything, but it takes amazing kind of storytellers like yourself to kind of transform it from script to screen and everything. Is there kind of you have obviously a job to, take the script and do it justice, and because the writing is just amazing. But do you think there's a little bit of kind of a go with the flow component and just natural kind of growth and change that happens on shows like this with the arcs and everything? Or do you think it's all predetermined from the script? So does it happen naturally? I'm wondering about that a little bit.
No, it's all predetermined from the script.
Yeah.
However, now that said, the writers, and they are brilliant on this show, they may get certain feelings. For instance, there was no guarantee that my character was going to be in season 2.
Yeah.
So I think from what they saw of me and the connection that they made with Nahid's character in season 1 is what gave them the inspiration to write more for her and to write a different storyline for her in season 2. So, but that's as far as the inspiration of it comes. The rest of it is everything is written down.
And it depends on the project, right? Like it also depends on the project. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I just even feel like I look at some of these shows, the reason I asked that question is I'm very interested in. I've interviewed people before, and I'm like, I watch your film. I love this dinner scene where it's just two people talking. And I'm like, it feels like it's improv. And then they're like, no, like it was scripted. And I'm like, wow, that's like really good writing. But then it's the opposite, right? Where, I don't know. I feel like it's the writer, right? The writer is just the one that just dupes the audience a little bit, whether it's improv.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. The writing is so important. The writing is I want to say everything, although acting is also important. And it's so funny that I feel like I've had to keep going to acting school and acting workshops just to be natural.
Yes.
Like you think, how hard is it to be natural? It's very hard. So although it might come easy to some actors, but I have to work at it.
100%. The show is on Apple TV Plus.
It is on Apple.
It is an amazing, we're not going to sugarcoat this. I mean, it's an amazing time for Apple TV Plus right now.
Yes.
So what's it like being on a show at a time where there's so much amazing stuff happening with Apple TV Plus, Sheila?
I have to pinch myself. I'm so grateful. I feel so fortunate. And by the way, Shaun Toub and I played husband and wife on another Apple TV Plus show called Little America.
Little America, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and what's crazy was that his character was also called Faraz in Little America now.
Little America was, I believe, an anthology, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. It was an anthology series, and it was about immigrants that come to the U.S. And it's just so lovely. It's such a lovely show. I really hope there's going to be another season of that.
So yeah, of course, this is not your first time being part of the Apple TV Plus family, so to speak.
Yeah. Yes.
No, but it's just like there's so many good TV shows from Apple TV Plus.
Oh, right. Ted Lasso, The Morning Show, See.
There's a new one coming out on Friday, which is a bilingual show called Now and Then, which is really good.
It's really good.
There's a show called Pachinko, which is incredible. There was a show called Swag. There's a lot. Like, we love Apple TV Plus on Popternative. We love it.
That show We Crash, is that on Apple TV Plus?
Apple TV Plus. We
Crashed.
Crashed.
That's so good. Oh my God. Jared Leto.
My God.
God.
There's so many. There was a show with Will Ferrell and Paul Rudd called The Shrink Next Door. Like, there's a lot. Like, it's incredible. It just seems like Severance is another one. We're just thinking
Severance. Oh my God, Severance.
It's a bit mind-blowing, the consistency of just nonstop, just amazing shows. Tehran as well. Like, you don't really think about it, right? You just kind of, like, we're talking about it now, and then you're realizing, like, it's show after show that we just want to watch. We can marathon all of them. Isn't that cool to think about as well?
Right.
Which is so crazy. So I'm just curious. So when you signed on originally to the project, like for Tehran, what did you know about it? Like, I'm talking like first season. What did you know? The role you played, is that the role you auditioned for? Like, is there anything you could tell me, like early stages of getting involved with the show?
All I knew about the show, because I hadn't read any of the script, all I'd read was the sides that I auditioned with. And after I did the audition, I really wasn't sure, because I didn't know anything about the show. Yeah. And I wasn't sure if I felt comfortable to accept it, because I just didn't know. I just didn't know how they were going to show Iranians, how everything was going to be shown. And Danny Sirkin, who is the director of all the episodes, and he's also in the writing room with the writers, and he's brilliant. He came to LA and he took Shaun Toub and I out to dinner. And it was during that dinner that I found out that, first of all, the character I'll be playing is not just going to be some ornamental female wife
Yeah.
you know, just to show that the main character has a family, but that she was going to be intricately involved in the plot. And so that was very exciting for me. And but I had no idea there was going to be a season 2. I had no idea how much more intricately involved she was going to be in season 2. But it was with talking with Danny and seeing how much, first of all, what an artist he is, but how much he loves Iranians, and me being an Iranian American, that's
Yes.
important to me. It's important that it wasn't shown one way, or, you know, I didn't want Iranians to be shown in a negative light.
Is it safe to say, adding to what you just said, though, is one of your favorite things about storytelling the fact that stories that weren't told prior are finally getting told, Sheila?
Yes, yes. It is so safe to say that, Peter.
Yeah.
You know, I started acting at the age of 15. So from 15 to 18, all throughout high school, I went to Van Nuys High School. My dream was to be an actor, but there was no representations of me whatsoever on the screen. So I never imagined it could be for me. And then every single time I would meet someone and they'd be like, "Oh, you have an accent. Where are you from?" I'd say Iran. And so many times they would bring up the 1979 revolution that was like the destruction of our lives and our families. So I'd always just go into this negative space about who I am, and thought I could never be an actor. And it's just such an incredible time right now with streaming services and with how there's so much more representation in stories.
It's so crazy, because I remember before the pandemic, we were having these conversations where it was like Netflix and like Apple TV was starting to put out stuff, but like Prime Video, like and Disney Plus was coming out and everything. And it was just like, wow, you know what I mean? Like so many opportunities. And now like 3-4 years later, look at it now.
Right,
Like,
right. I tell you, it's hard work.
I think
Makes amazing
we can
stuff.
call this like the streaming era. Like this is the streaming era.
Yeah. And the golden age. It really is the golden age for television.
It is. It is so
much
good. Before we wrap up, when they get a chance to watch Tehran on Apple TV Plus, what are you hoping they'll get out of it takeaway wise? Like the audience?
What I hope that the audience will do is, I hope that because of the fact that they're watching a show that is so entertaining, and the people in this show happen to be maybe not people who look like them or are from where they're from, that they will pay more attention to Iranians and Israelis and you know, people of the Middle East and people from all over the world. That I think it's so powerful. That's what's so powerful about not just storytelling, but television and streaming, especially, that so many people all over the world get to see different people.
Absolutely.
And get to get emotionally connected to them and get to root for them. And I think that's really important. I think it's the next step of human evolution, and it's happening with.
What do you think about, because there's like the binging, right, where they release it all, and then there's the week after week, like the traditional. I personally think there's a place for both. What do you think about that?
I think week after week is great, and then people who like to binge, you should just wait until they're all out and binge.
Yeah, but I think there's a place for both. Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm a binger.
Yeah,
I'm a binger.
Too.
I can't watch and then have to.
But then I feel like it's just because I'm so busy during the week. Like binging is hard, right? Like on the weekend I can binge, but like,
I know.
I don't mind the week to week, because it's like there's not much time as much now as I'm editing my show. I have my day job. Like I don't have as much time as I used to.
It's like people complain about long films that, oh my God, it was 2.5 hours, and when you binge, you're sitting through 8 hours, if not like
it's so crazy.
12 or 13.
People could follow you. There's an Instagram account, right? They could keep up to date with everything. Yeah,
Shila Ommi on Instagram. Yes.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.